just want to be sure if I'm good, if you're good. And when I tell you, I've never seen so much hatred in someone's eyes. Like, she did not want me standing in her doorway. No. Great weather outside to trauma dump. So here's my story of the worst roommate experience of my entire life. Strap in. I've been holding off on telling the story for a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons is I've been trying to decide whether I want to make this just one part. I try and say as much as I can in one 10-minute video, or I can make this multiple parts and really give you the max amount of detail so you can fully grasp why this was such a deeply traumatic experience for me. And I think I'm just going to give you every detail that comes to my head because that feels like the only appropriate way to truly tell the story. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Lauren. I live in New York City. I moved here in September of 2024 with 2 random roommates that I found on Facebook. Back it up a little bit to May of 2023 when I even decided that I was going to move to New York. I was living in Nashville. I had fully healed from my divorce. I realized that I had moved back to Nashville because it felt like the most comfortable place for me to actually heal and kind of ground myself again. And when I actually healed and woke up, I realized that all of my friends in Nashville were just in very different phases of life than me. And to be completely honest, I was just kind of bored there and it just didn't feel like my forever place. It's always been a dream of mine to move to New York. So literally like 2 weeks later after I made up my mind, I told my family and friends that I was moving. In June, I joined a Facebook group for young females moving to New York City. It has about 118,000 members. In this Facebook group, I met the antagonist of this story. We are going to refer to her as Karen because that's who she is in my mind. At first, I thought that this person was a soul sister to me. I had never felt so closely connected to someone so instantly. In June, when I decided I was going to move here, I briefly met her on Facebook and I decided to come to the city. I have family that live here. So I was like, hey, I'm just going to come visit and explore, see different areas and see where I could possibly live. And that's when I met Karen in person for the first time. Our initial introduction was incredible. We got drinks for about an hour and a half. She treated to drinks. We trauma bonded instantly. I had never met someone at that age who had gone through something so deeply traumatic like I had. And I want to preface, the trauma bonding aspect is the reason why I was as fooled as I was by Karen. But from June to September, when we actually find a lease in New York, we move in, there were so many red flags. I can't even count them all on one hand. I had my parents telling me multiple times, Lauren, you need to see this person for who they are. Maybe this is a sign that you should move in by yourself or you shouldn't be moving to New York at all. I did obviously at the age of 28 consider living by myself in the city, but it is outrageously priced, as you know about New York. And it just seemed like the only realistic feasible option for me was to go the random roommate route. I was actually kind of selfishly excited about having a random roommate because I didn't know that many people in the city. And when you can get a roommate that's also a friend, boom, you're kind of 2 birds with 1 stone. That's a very lucky scenario. Initially, it was just going to be myself and Karen, but our budgets were slightly different and we were not able to find an apartment that met both of our needs. Word to the wise, if you are thinking about moving to New York and you're thinking about moving in September, just know it is the worst possible time to move to the city. You have all of the recent college graduates, their jobs just started. It's the time that everyone is flocking to the city. So it's ultra competitive and prices are raised out the roof because they know that there are so many people fiending for these places. There were only 2 things that I requested in this apartment from Karen. I needed natural lighting, most importantly, because I film for a living and natural lighting is truly crucial to a filming environment. And I also wanted a relatively new apartment, modern finishings, anything I could to make it slightly more aesthetic, because if you are in the content industry, then you know having an aesthetic background or environment where you're filming is very important to your content. After our initial introduction in June, she was going out of town for a couple weeks, and when she got back, she was like, let's hit the ground running and find a place starting in July. I was on my computer every single day from the second I decided to move to New York because I was excited about it. I didn't necessarily know the areas I wanted to live in, didn't know what apartments were available, so I was browsing the internet street easy 24/7, finding places, sending them to her, and getting 0 responses. She was quite literally the least responsive person ever, but because of that trauma bonding, I had faith. Pretty much from the moment I met her, every single thing that we did, every conversation we had was really under her beck and call the whole time, and I didn't necessarily realize it, but also I was inexperienced when it came to New York City. She was already living here, so I kind of trusted her maybe a little bit more than I should have, given she was still a total complete stranger to me. Basically, from the time I met her in June to the beginning of August, we had gotten absolutely nowhere, and I was starting to lose faith. So I was like, all right, I don't know that we're going to get anywhere unless I come back to the city and we set up apartment tours and we go together. So that's what I did, because at this point I was supposed to be moving out in 2.5.
Yeah, you rarely hear people excited to move in with strangers. I mean, I get like not really having the budget, especially in New York, but at that point it's like, then maybe that shouldn't be the move because you just never know with roommates. What if y'all don't get along and now you have to be evicted all of a sudden, and how are you going to find somewhere to stay? And
Yeah, I think they just more into the aesthetics of it, like, oh, you get the New York lifestyle aesthetics, and I get why people do it. It's really, you really don't. I mean, the background, I guess you could say it plays a part, but honestly, most of our conversations be like this. They be sitting in their cars, they be sitting in that somewhere that's not really but this is it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Just be in a room. I think people just get so distracted by the aesthetics of content. It's just like people really just want the content. They really don't care how you bring it. Honestly, sometimes your rough aesthetics could be the reason why some people can relate to you. Like you coming from if you at the bottom, you at the bottom. That's just how it is. If you ain't got it all, you ain't got it all. And some people, they mess with that, and it makes you look more real. Fake aesthetic all really don't really matter when it comes to content anymore. Maybe back in the day, few years ago, and we've been doing this for like 5 years. So.
Yeah, she's probably a lifestyle type of creator though.
Bro, I get it. I mean, I understand why they do it. It's just I would tell beginners you just start in your car. If you just need a quiet space or somewhere, if you ain't got a car, go to a quiet place in your house and just set your camera up on a stand and just talk to it. Simple as that, bro. You don't have to really go to New York and get all of this fancy living. I mean, unless you're a lifestyle person who want to show the best things in life, then that's expensive. But it's a route. But I understand what she's doing.
I think the biggest red flag about the roommate is like she's not even accountable. Like you can't even count on her to find you guys an apartment. So imagine when the rent's due or something out of nowhere happens in the apartment, we got a crazy electric bill or anything the case may be. It's kind of like you don't know this person, you don't know how dependable they are, and you're like taking that risk just because you want to live that lifestyle. I have so much trauma with just making friends and having the wrong friends that I would be like, no way I can have a random roommate. What if they are a thief? I would be thinking the worst. Like, we signed up for this, and then it's like she's like when I first met her, we were trauma bonding. It's like you first meet somebody, the first thing you do is like tell them everything you've been through. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, damn. Yeah.
Wow, I really hope that didn't come to bite you in the butt.
That's how you get unwanted people in your life, man. Those trauma stories you tell people. I know you want to get it out so people can just know you, but you gotta let people earn that. You gotta let people just slowly start off just, getting to know each other. I would never jump straight into my trauma with people, because then that's a way for them to always loop back into your life. It's like, yeah, remember I was there for you when you cried about X, Y, and Z. And it's just like, you feel deep down some way, I owe you for that. And that's just how relationships be in today's world. It's just, I owe this person for something. I don't know what it is. Maybe it wasn't financially, or it's just maybe because they was there mentally when I was going through things. It's like, that's trauma bonding. I had to learn that. I learned that this year. It's crazy.
Week. So you can't schedule movers to pick up your stuff if they don't have a delivery address. Come to the city. I come for like 5 days. I'm staying at a hotel in Midtown. It's wildly expensive. And I wanted to have apartment listings, multiple listings a day set up for us to go tour. When I tell you the apartments that we were able to tour based on our combined budget were like shoeboxes. And not only was I coming with myself, I'm also coming with 2 animals. I also knew that she had a dog as well, 90 pounds, blind, total sweetheart, and got along really well with my pets, but not the point. We were coming with a lot of baggage. In typical New York fashion, these apartments that we were viewing were absolute dumpsters, shoeboxes, and it just was not working. So we actually considered adding a 3rd roommate, and at one point even a 4th roommate in the 5 days that I was here in August. Went through a few different candidates for roommates, and every time we went back to the drawing board. We started DMing people on Instagram, but ultimately everything came from that Facebook page. The second to last day that I was in the city, we met this one girl. We had a FaceTime call with her, and we ended up selecting her as our 3rd roommate. I really wanted to take on a 3rd roommate because I was already nervous enough about welcoming someone else into my space when I film at home. This is a very vulnerable job, and you have to be comfortable with the person that's around you to be comfortable to perform this job. But at this point, I was just grasping at straw. I was like, I just want a place to live. So when I was touring a unit in Manhattan with one of the previous candidates before the final roommate candidate that we selected for the 3rd roommate, my other roommate, Karen, was the one that came to the actual apartment that we ended up getting. She had sent me the pictures of it. We agreed, all right, let's go tour it. It's in Brooklyn. I didn't ever want to live in Brooklyn, but it's whatever. That said, let me remind you again, okay, about my two most important things, and the only two things that I'm asking for, most importantly, is natural lighting. The pictures that we saw on Street Easy are very typical pictures of Street Easy. The exposure is pulled up all the way to 100. The lighting looks insane. Everything about it. Were there modern finishings in it? Absolutely not, but it looked really, really bright from the pictures. Once again, I am not the one that went to see the apartment before we signed the lease. She was. This unit ended up having about 15% natural light. Literally looked like it had not been touched by painters. It didn't look like it had been finished, to be completely honest. It was a 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom. The 1 bathroom looked like a literal dungeon, and one of the bedrooms didn't even have windows. Not only that, the building itself lived above a dog boarding service, i.e. there are dogs barking and screaming at all hours of the day. The tenants that lived there prior to us, when Karen was touring the unit, they told her, hey, one thing that we need to point out is it's really loud. Like, you can hear the dogs barking 24/7 in here. She did tell me that, but she did not stress to the extent in which they were actually barking. Not only that, they were drilling concrete right outside of our building, right outside of our window for the entire duration of our year-long.
Welcome to New York, the city that doesn't sleep.
Right. Is that why?
I mean, I really, did we not do research at all?
Man, she just signed a lease to a place that she didn't even go see herself.
And then,
ain't no due diligence in this.
And this is why they say when you want something done and you want it done right, do it yourself. Pickers can't be choosers. You can't be like, go view the apartment. And I'm just gonna trust you, a person I've never met in my life. Or I mean, you met her, but it's like, come on now. And then it's 1 bathroom, 3 women. It'd be hard for me to share with my man.
We got 2. Yeah.
Right, and we have 2 bathrooms. So what?
I mean, this ain't a bathroom for bathroom moment.
But I'm saying, us females, you need the whole counter. We need our makeup over here. And then they got, his facial things going on. It's like, it's only so much space. Like,
I don't be tripping about the space.
Right, I'm saying, when you got 3 women using the bathroom, like, trying to get ready, and like,
that's a women thing. Like, men, we out of there.
I need the whole counter. I need all the cabinets below. I need I can't even imagine 3 women at that.
They are waiting for each other. Oh my gosh. I know that's terrible. I can speak for the person who's always waiting. That's terrible. 100%. I couldn't imagine 2 more women in this mob. Like, that'd have been crazy for me. Like, I would never make it to my time in the bathroom at this point.
And then she's like, I'm a content creator, and the first thing the person tells you before y'all move in is, hey, it's loud.
Yeah, that should have been a dead. Well,
we'd be recording, and if the lawnmower going off outside, that's enough distraction. So I can't even imagine drilling.
Yeah, we got kids.
Dogs screaming, scared. Like your roommate trying to tell you, you're like, okay, how much more exaggeration does she need to say? They're yelling for their life. Like, come on now.
I guess they were just so desperate to move in. That clock starts to tick. You got to get into
never that desperate. 1 bathroom? Oh my, that is a nightmare.
It probably was expensive. I want to know how much that place cost. I bet you it was some wild, like Ohio. Y'all can talk about Ohio y'all want. Our land is cheaper than that, but we getting these for way
getting up there. Shit.
Like, goodness, compared to New York.
Lease. Mind you, no central AC, and when I went to take the trash out down in the boiler room, I made eye contact with probably 6 or 7 rats during my 10 months of living there. And I didn't know any of this until the day I moved in. And that's all for part 1. Go to part 2. This is part 2 of the worst roommate experience of my entire life. Once we found the 3rd roommate, we had a group message that was started up until the time we signed the lease. Once we signed the lease, there was no further communication in the group message between the 3 of us. Can't tell you why. There just wasn't. There were phone calls between Karen and the 3rd roommate, but there was no direct communication between myself and the 3rd roommate. At this point, Karen is still virtually a stranger, but because of the trauma bonding, I felt instantly connected to her, unlike the 3rd roommate, who was quite literally a complete and utter stranger to me. So Karen and the 3rd roommate ended up moving in early. They had a bit of a different moving timeline than I did. While my lease was up before the end of August, I couldn't actually leave Nashville until September 4th because of the transport service that was picking up my dog to drive her here. They ended up moving in on August 31st. Technically, our lease didn't start until September 1st. So because there was that earlier date that was was negotiated with them and the landlord. There was no cleaning done to the apartment. There were no repairs done. Every crevice of my bedroom when I moved in was dust. It was just an absolute disgusting mess. Let's go back to the group message because it's actually very important. So these phone calls and separate text messages that were exchanged between Karen and the third roommate, when they both moved in on August 31st, this was her prime opportunity to manipulate the situation. This is the time that she made both of us two pawns in her game. She started spitting all of these ideas to me about the third roommate and vice versa. So at the point that I moved in on September 4th, me and the complete stranger of a third roommate already had impressions formed of each other before we had even met. Karen essentially made herself the leader in all of this because the things that she was telling me about the third roommate and the things she was telling the third roommate about me were not good things. So the impressions that we had of each other by the time I moved in were not good ones. On the day that I moved in, September 4th, Karen and I were absolutely attached at the hip, like inseparable. Whenever I would talk about her to my family or friends, I would literally refer to her as a soul sister, like a true best friend. I know at that point I had only known her for 2 months, but because of the trauma bonding, I ignored everything else that I had heard about her. Just instantly felt like we had known each other for such a long time. Karen had just started dating her boyfriend a couple months prior to me moving in, and to be honest, he reminds me so much of my brother. So the instant friendship and bond between the three of us, I was constantly a third wheel, but I loved it because they both genuinely felt like my best friends so early on. In September of 2024, I moved in the middle of Fashion Week. So I had so many events that I was going to, and any event I was allowed a +1. Who was I bringing with me? The only friend that I had in the city, Karen. She got to attend so many events, meet so many cool people, get so many free products. She got to do free experiences with me. And I love being able to provide that type of experience for someone that doesn't get to all the time and give free products. But it was mostly for a comfort for me because New York influencer events are so unbelievably intimidating. I was even scared to go to those events in Nashville. Can't even imagine what they were going to be like in New York. So the second that I was offered to bring a +1, without question, Karen was coming with me. Fast forward to the end of September 26th, I traveled back to Nashville for one of my best friends was getting married. I had a group message at this point with Karen and her boyfriend, and I was already receiving text messages about the third roommate, things that she was doing. She was using my products, everything that would make me even off at this person that I did not even know. And what's crazy is my first actual impression when I met this third roommate was she's really sweet. I really enjoyed talking to her. She was a little bit younger, but that's okay. She was just a sweet girl. And had I not had those previous ideas put in my head before I even met her, this would have been a completely different experience. And the one thing that I said when I moved in is you can use my products. I am more than willing to let you borrow anything that is mine. I love sharing my things with people, but just ask. It's just a respect thing to me. Please don't take anything without asking me, but just know if you do ask, 9 times out of 10, I will always let you use it. I say that because that is the main thing Karen told me when I left that weekend was the third roommate is using all your products. This is gone. She's eating your food, everything that would just make me so unbelievably mad that I lost my shit when I got home. Now, every time that she would tell me these things, I'd be like, well, she's also doing it to you. She's in your space, so why aren't you saying anything to her about it? Well, this is when I came to realize that Karen is as far avoidant as you can get. I'm very much an anxious attachment style. She is someone that does not like confrontation. It makes her skin crawl. By the time I got back from my friend's wedding, I was absolutely livid with this third roommate. And I also want to preface, I'm a confrontational person, but only to the extent that I like to talk about my feelings. I feel uncomfortable if I know that there is some amount of like angst or something between me and someone else and we're sharing a living environment. I want to talk about it just to make it more comfortable for both of us. Never been one to get in a screaming argument. I've never hit anyone. I'm not an aggressive person like that. I can understand for people who are maybe not as confrontational, a little bit more reserved and avoidant, it could come across that way. My behavior when I returned from that weekend, I was so, my blood was boiling at that point that I absolutely unleashed my emotions, but I was also extremely uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable in this city. It was just such an unknown lifestyle for me that I think I maybe took a little bit of that out on this third roommate also. Truly the most frustrating part of the entire 10 months that I was living in this apartment is that I will, to this day, never know what was true and what wasn't true about what was told to me. After this argument that I got in with the third roommate, we quite literally did not utter words to each other for almost a month. But Karen and I were still attached at the hip, and it almost felt like it was the two of us living in this apartment, and then it was one other person that would surface every now and then.
I don't want to cast judgment, but this Karen character, I feel like she just always wanted to be your plus one. So what better way than to not even have to let there be a possibility that you might bring the other roommate to these events? I mean, she's getting free things. She's getting all this, attention from you.
But the girl is doing it.
it's
She
like,
is doing the shit she's saying she doing.
but she even said she doesn't know if it was true. All these bad things that she's hearing about what this roommate is doing, only person that can know what's really happening is Karen.
Yeah, you gotta watch them. You gotta watch those gossipers, man. People who gossip, they may look like the nicest people you know, but they really the biggest problems in your life. Because it's like, if you truly are my friend, even if you are non-confrontational, why wouldn't you say something in those moments? It's like, you gotta watch people. People who don't stand for nothing will fall for everything. You know what I'm saying? So you can't motivate people. You can't be real with people who like that. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, the girl who obviously is doing crazy stuff, yeah, but I like an obvious person. I don't like a person who sit up under me acting like they angels, but reality is, you probably talk about me behind my back. Little do we know.
And yeah, she found that out too.
Right.
This Karen chick was telling the other roommate things about her.
See, non-confrontational people tends to start a lot of confrontation, don't they? Like, they don't want to be in it because they're scary and they just want to justify this. I'm not confrontational. No, you're just scary. Let's just cut out that little non-confrontational talk and just say, I'm a scary person, so I talk about other people behind their back and I spread rumors. This is how rumors get spread. This is how people spread rumors. I'm starting to understand the Bible every day. Gotta watch the gossiping people, 100%. They look like angels, but they're the trouble. They really are the trouble. She probably was eating it with her. She probably was doing shit with her, letting her do it. Oh, it's okay. She's doing it again. Like, that's why I can't do roommates. Nah, y'all both gotta go, honestly.
And I'm not proud of my behavior in the short stint, but when I continue this story, you will come to understand why I reacted the way I did. Now let's get to Halloween. Halloween, I think, was the worst night that I had with Karen, and we just never talked about it after Halloween. It was an awful night for me. We did not jive that night. We didn't necessarily get in a fight, but because she's not a confrontational person, I was never able to talk to her about it, so I just started to feel uncomfortable. For the next couple of weeks up until Thanksgiving, things started to change. I went from seeing and hanging out and talking to Karen 24/7 every single day to not seeing or speaking to her for 10 days straight. At this point in time, Alex and I had just started seeing each other. We weren't official yet, but I had made multiple efforts to get her and her boyfriend that I felt still very close to hang out with Alex and I. I wanted to do a foursome type of group date, and she just kept avoiding that at all possible costs. And in turn, it just kind of felt like she was avoiding me. We share a wall, and our apartment was technically, it's a 3-bedroom, but it was technically a 2-bedroom with a flex wall. If you don't know what that is, a flex wall is literally a steel plate that you put in between a service area in a room to basically divide it and make it 2 different rooms. And that's what it was. So when both of us were in our rooms, we could hear basically each other breathing. Like, the way that sound travels between rooms, there's no way to hide anything. So I knew when she was home, she knew when I was home. So come Thanksgiving, it's the week that she's gonna leave. I go up to her room and I'm just like, hey, I don't know what happened. I don't know if I did something to make you uncomfortable, but like, I would love to talk. But if this isn't the right time, like, I just want to be sure if I'm good, if you're good. And when I tell you, I've never seen so much hatred in someone's eyes. Like, she did not want me standing in her doorway. No. And she said, I'm fine. Yeah, everything's fine. And I said, okay, well, I hope you have a great holiday. Safe travels. Like, enjoy your time with your family. We'll talk when you get back. She goes, okay. This is when shit hits the fan. So stay tuned for part 3. You guys are sat for this tea, and trust me, it's about to get piping. So here's part 3 of the worst roommate experience of my entire life. So let me backtrack a little. After that conversation between Karen and I, which was not even a conversation, she ended up leaving the next day for almost a solid 2 weeks. She didn't come back until a couple days before New Year's Eve. I ended up staying here for the holidays, and for the first time, like, ever, I found myself in the apartment alone with the 3rd roommate. At this point in my life, I was living in such a constant state of anxiety. I was so unbelievably uneasy and uncomfortable all the time. I was so confused about whatever had happened between Karen and I was really hoping to get some form of clarity before she left for such an extended period of time, but I didn't. So I confided in the one person that I thought I could at that point, which was the 3rd roommate. We sat down early in the morning one day, and I was like, listen, I don't know what happened between Karen and I, but she's not talking to me. I feel like she's acting a little different. Have you noticed anything? We talked about that for a little bit, but then honestly, the opportunity just seemed right for me to sit there and and just straight up apologize and almost reintroduce myself, because I felt like we never actually got a really true, genuine, authentic introduction to each other. We spent about 2.5 hours talking, chatting, getting to know each other, and honestly, she made me feel a lot better. From my understanding, we were kind of starting from scratch and building a whole new friendship. So then fast forward to Christmas Day, I get a text from Karen that basically says, Merry Christmas, like whenever I get back in town, let's sit down and talk. I at least owe you a conversation. I had a great holiday with my family when they came in town. I had a great holiday with Alex, and then I got this, and it just kind of seemed like cherry on top of the cake. I was like, yes, I'm gonna go into the new year with a clean slate, and I'm gonna finally get a chance to understand what happened between the two of us. December 28th rolls around, and that's when Karen gets back. Her boyfriend is over the second she gets home. And so the three of us are sitting down on the couch. Mind you, this is really the first time her and I have sat down and had a conversation in, I kid you not, over a month. We talked for about an hour and a half, and it was the most unusually normal conversation that we have had in weeks. Genuinely felt like no time had passed, nothing had happened between the two of us, and we were just talking as normal. Remember when I was leaving the conversation, I went over to Alex's apartment and he was like, so how'd it go? I was like, oddly, it went really well, but we didn't talk about anything. Like, I have absolutely no clarity to the situation that was before Christmas. Like, it just kind of seemed like everything was normal. So I don't know, I'm just gonna kind of go about my business as usual. From December 28th to January 14th. Yeah, I remember those 2 dates exactly because they are that significant in my memory. Karen and I exchanged a couple text messages here and there, very casual, lighthearted, didn't necessarily seem angry, but like things just still didn't really feel normal. She would let Josie out, I would let her dog out. Like, it was very casual, but almost strictly roommates, not really necessarily a friendship. Now, coming to January 14th, when I tell you I was absolutely miserable in that apartment, I recall several times I would call my mom in my bedroom whispering to her, because again, the steel wall that separates the two rooms, you can hear each other breathing, was sobbing on the phone to my mom, just telling her how much I hate it here, telling her how uncomfortable I feel here. And again, this is my workspace, so I felt like my content was being everything was being impacted by my mood in this apartment, which was terrible. Now, my relationship with the third roommate was a very slow burn to grow. We're at a place where we could be cordial and we could be friendly with one another, but we weren't on like a friendly texting exchange basis at that point. It was just, again, we were starting from scratch. Now we get to January 14th, the specific date. At this point, Karen and I were basically avoiding each other, is what it felt like to me. At that point, I had gone back to therapy because, hello, I needed it. And my therapist told me to go into this conversation just literally relaying my boundaries as a roommate. Like, I just wanted to have a cordial living environment. I wanted to be good roommates to each other, and that's it. At that point, I had lost complete and utter faith that we were going to be able to rekindle our friendship and start new. Ultimately, we were strangers, and if I couldn't read you to the point that I had absolutely no idea what happened between the two of us, I just didn't know that there was much of a friendship to salvage in the first place. So at that point, I wanted to go into the conversation with it being like 30 minutes, let's just relay our boundaries to each other and have it be that. This conversation took place in our living room. My third roommate was home for the first hour and a half of the conversation, which made me feel extremely uncomfortable. But when I went into this conversation, again, I was planning on it being very short and sweet, to the point, having a very neutral tone. To my understanding, that off Karen, that I didn't come into this emotional, I didn't come into this conversation heated, which I will say is very out of the norm for me because I am an extremely emotional person. I wear my heart on my sleeve. The main point was to relay one boundary and one boundary only, and it was that her boyfriend was overstaying his welcome. He was in our apartment during all hours of the day. I work from home. I don't appreciate that, and I don't need him to be here until after at least 3 p.m. Okay, I'll give you that. I film for a living, and I know that if your boyfriend's sitting in your bedroom, he is hearing every single word that I am saying on my phone as I'm filming. And that made me so uncomfortable to the point where I didn't even want to film. I didn't want to do my job. Legal reasons, I'm going to spare the specific details of the conversation, but all you need to know is it was a whirlwind. It was a roller coaster of a conversation. It started very neutral, then it got defensive, heated, yelling, and then it ended in crying, and it even ended in a hug. At the very end, Karen said to me that she cares about me, she cares about our friendship, she wants to start fresh, and we hugged. And Karen does not hug. She is not one for physical touch, as she has told me many times. So when I left that conversation, I was thinking, all right, like, pat myself on the back. We are good to go. We are going into the new year, starting fresh. Maybe we'll be friends again. Boy, was I wrong in that. After that conversation ended, I went to Alex's for the night. I come back the next morning. Karen is gone, and I'm sitting there with the third roommate. And because she was there for the first hour of the conversation when Karen and I were yelling, she asked me if I was okay. Like, how did everything go? I was like, yeah, actually, I know that you heard a pretty heated part of the conversation, but it ended well. It ended cordially. I think we're in a good place now. And she was like, okay, well, as a woman, I feel that I need to tell you this because if someone said these things about me, I would want to know. Mind you, this was less than 12 hours after that conversation with Karen, okay? My understanding, the way I perceived the conversation between Karen and the third roommate is that Karen told her everything that was opposite of what she told me during my conversation. I was told that she spoke about my financial status, she spoke about my relationship, she ultimately spoke about anything that would paint me in a bad light to the third roommate, and also said that she had no intention of ever being my friend again. Again, let me reiterate, this was all my understanding, my perception of what was told to me by the third roommate. But at this point, I was mind fucked. I was so confused. I did not understand what happened the day before. I didn't understand what happened now. And I was honestly frustrated because when I initially went into that conversation with Karen, I was fine not having it be a friendship. I just wanted things to feel comfortable in this apartment. Not even normal. I realized we were going to have to figure out a new normal, but just comfortable. I felt dragged into the emotional side of that conversation, and the empath in me, which frustrates me so much sometimes, it feels like I fell for it. I fell for everything that was told to me. At this point, I lost it. I was done. And that's all I needed to hear from the third roommate. So after that, I blocked Karen and her boyfriend on all social media. I did not allow them access to my life at that point. And January 14th, those were the last words that were ever uttered between Karen and I. My lease did not end until August 31st. I swear it was like one crazy chapter ended and another crazy chapter started. So go to part 4.
Man, I think she about to do a spinoff, I'm sure. But you know what I was saying. I told y'all gotta watch those gossiping people at the end of the day. I've been telling y'all that since the Karen girl started talking and gossiping that she was a gossiper and that she's playing both sides. And it doesn't shock me that, she went back and was having a conversation with the third person or, that person. And it don't shock me that the third person told you. But what y'all don't realize? When somebody's sitting there telling you everything somebody else told about them, she done laid out a whole essay. Why don't y'all question a person that's listening? So I would cut her off too, is what I'm saying. I think you should cut them both off. Both of them should have been blocked. Both of them should be out of your life because both of them are gossipers. Both of them are problem makers. Like, they just want to cause chaos so that way you don't look at them. Like, don't look at quiet people as nice, genuine people. They're not. A lot of them are very deceitful, manipulative people, especially if they're gossiping. Because I personally wouldn't have told it. That's just me. I wouldn't have told her nothing about the conversation because honestly, how did that make me look? I'm having this whole conversation with the girl. So you coming off as being real, but reality to people who can see and has a third, maybe you need a third eye. Some of y'all need a third eye to see. But you can tell you too, because how comfortable do somebody got to be to sit there and talk? Like, if you tell me something about somebody I love, how long you think you got to talk? You're not going to have long. I'm going to cut off. Like, listen, y'all need to go have that conversation. I don't want to have nothing to do with that. But since that wasn't said, and I got to feel comfortable enough to keep telling and going and going and going and going, that just tells me that you and me were going back and forth. You and her were going back and forth about me. And maybe it's just a man thing. I don't know. But, y'all just got to look at it for what it is sometimes. When it's a snake in the garden, they all the same, man. You got to, well, I get it. All snakes are not the same. But to me, they are. Hell, you got to watch. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, be careful who you confide in, because as soon as you got done with the trauma bond situation you had with the Karen chick, instantly you went to trauma bond with the third chick because y'all can trauma bond over the other girl. Like, oh yeah, she did. Y'all was both talking about it. Y'all all talking about each other. Let's just be honest with you. Nobody's having real conversations until it boils to that point. You know what I'm saying? But it could have never gotten to that point from the date. You know what I'm saying? I told you the middle chick Karen was a part of the BS the whole time, because if you watching them do it and you indulging with it pretty much, then how are you not equally to blame? Who would say you ain't eating my shit? You know what I'm saying? Now you over here gossiping about my financial situation because you're confiding in somebody you think you can trust because she's gossiping about other people. So I can trust her, right? Because she's talking about other people. She ain't talking about me. No. When they're done talking about you, or when they get done talking about the person they're talking about, when you're not there, they're talking about you. They're always talking about something because they don't like the attention to be on themselves. They're going to talk about everybody else, though. So I say watch those people moving forward. That's the message I'm giving for this. You know what I'm saying? Be careful. Not just the roommate picking, but pick people who don't got it, if that's the case.
Yeah, this is what I was worried about from the very beginning. She's saying, she didn't feel comfortable in her own home, but what do you get when you move in with strangers? I mean, hey, kind of saw that one coming. But but the fact that, y'all playing telephone, basically, this could all be solved if everyone just sat on the couch and put it all on the table. The only reason why nothing is getting solved and it's always she saying this person said this, da 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 da, is because why are y'all all having separate conversations? Why did that group chat where both y'all, everybody communicated is no longer a thing now? I feel like the Karen chick just wanted somebody to spill her tea to, and she had to cause that division between you guys because this was exactly what she was worried about, her running back and telling you. So if you don't like her, why would you even speak to her? Why would y'all even have a conversation if I already caused this division between you two? So she never thought that it was going to get back to you, but it did. And luckily it did, because you would have been bamboozled this whole time. You're thinking this Karen chick is your friend and she's just writing down all your darkest secrets so she can go expose it to everyone. My biggest red flag would have been, though, if Karen already lived in New York, why was it so hard for her to find roommates? Why is she so eager to be friends with strangers?
Right.
It's like,
Miss Non-Confrontational pick people she don't even know. That don't even make sense.
Yeah, I'm going to have to watch out for you. But this is exactly why, don't give your all to people in the beginning. I'm not saying be rude and be mean, but just be aware of your people that you're talking about. You just never know if it's a snake or a friend. You just never know. It's just something that comes with time.
Yeah.
But this is a learning lesson probably for all you ladies that are deciding to move and live with roommates. You can learn from this woman here that, hey, it's not always a rainbow. Yeah. I'm not saying that, don't take the chance. It could be fun. But just know that things like this can happen where you're going to be uncomfortable. I'm just honestly surprised as a content creator that she was even, wanting to have roommates.
Mm-hmm. But I disagree with her saying that the girl couldn't have her. I mean, I understand why she feels that way, but I can disagree with it because you don't want her to have her boyfriend here. But any lease you sign, you can have whoever you want here. They just can't stay here. You know what I'm saying? If he's here for the day and gone and coming back the other day, that's within her contractual rights. So I get it. That's why you don't move with multiple people. If you're uncomfortable with them having company, then that's why I wouldn't move with people in general. Because I'm not. Who trying to control grown people, telling them what they can do and what they can't do? You can have people over after 3. I'm not listening to either. Huh? Better take what? Like, you think we just got this house for you? That's what you think. You think that this is just for you and we just here. Like we ain't paying rent too. Like we ain't splitting this 3 ways. Like, I don't know. But that's why you needed that third person. You know what I'm saying? So you needed that help. So you got to understand that this is what comes with it. You should be happy both of them ain't have men in there all day. You know what I'm saying? You talking about 2 different women, so I don't know, but at the end of the day, I get where she's coming from. I understand it could be frustrating dealing with people like that for sure.
Yeah, if you guys have any crazy roommate stories or can relate to her in any way, let us know down below. If you want to see her story where she finishes what exactly happens, you can find her down below. Mm-hmm. Also, our website will be down there too. Yep. And one more thing, go follow our podcast. It's going to be listed down below where we sit and we talk about different things. We're going to be having some fun things rolling out, probably do some games on there. Mm-hmm. But it'll be listed down below. Everything that you need to follow us.
Check out that Patreon.
Yes. Thank you guys for watching.
Peace.